This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Coach Flores from the Miami Dolphins addressed the Meteors, and we love, of course, playing that press conference for you, and then, of course, giving you our response and our breakdown of what Coach Flores talked about. Let's play the head coach right here on the program. Go for it.
Good morning, Flo. I wanted to ask you a two-part question about running backs. The first, with the news that Kalen Ballage failed his physical, where does he stand with the organization? And also, what is the team's level of interest in Leonard Fournette now that he's available?
Well, anyone, we look at the waiver wire every day. So, to your Fournette question, Chris and the scouting staff, they'll make their evaluations, write a report, and we'll just kind of see, like all players who hit the waiver wire or street free agents, we'll see if we feel like it's will be a good fit for us. If we do, then we'll make a move. If not, then we won't. As far as the Kalen situation, obviously he reverted back to us, and we've had obviously discussions internally, and that's an ongoing situation, and we'll address it when it's when necessary to address.
Now, again, not going to trash players. That's not his style. He gave you a general answer. Miami's not going to claim him, obviously, because they're not going to pick up that salary. And so it's something that he would have to clear waivers to then pick him up. I'm not saying they should. I don't believe Fournette is unreliable. He is injury prone, and he's also unreliable when it comes to his attitude. This guy's done a lot of stupid things while he's been in Jacksonville. He's not a flow type player. And so I talked about this yesterday. To me, Leonard Fournette does not make any sense whatsoever for the Miami Dolphins. He's in a contract year, so he's going to be selfish about wanting carries. He's going to want touches. He's going to create problems in the backfield. And then why did you sign Howard and Breida then? You traded for Breida and you signed Howard. It would be pretty dumb for you to now bring in another running back that then you would end up not using those guys, and then he's got to fight with the rest of the guys for playing time, and you've got to deal with the petulant child trying to get his carries and his touches because he wants his stats so he can go get paid. The position is too interchangeable to be worried about, this guy. He's not the player he's not the professional that you need in this locker room at this point in time. So it doesn't make any sense. Go ahead. Continue with the and as for Ballage, who cares at this point? Eventually he'll get released. Go ahead.
John?
Hey, Flo, I wanted to just check in with you and on your stance on how the rookie class as a whole has done, knowing that they had no OTAs in preseason, and, now that we're at the last week before you guys make some big decisions, how you think the rookie class that you drafted as a whole has done to adapting to everything that comes with being a Dolphin.
Yeah, I think given the situation, I think they've worked hard. They've improved over the course of training camp. But, the big thing with the rookies, on our team and really across the league is you never really know about a player until there's live action. Some guys get tight when it's live action. Some guys play better when there's live action. So you just don't it's hard to know. So we're going to go into the unknown this season. A little bit more in the preseason. But even that isn't a regular season game. I think, I'm pleased with our rookie class. All of them really, from the guys who we drafted early to the undrafted guys. I think they're all working hard. I think they're all bought in, but there's a lot of unknown here. As you guys could imagine, there's, playing in an NFL game, this is the speed of it, the the pressure that's involved in playing in the game, the players you're playing against. I mean, these guys are big, they're physical, they're strong, they're tough, they're angry. So, when you get put in that situation, pressure bust pipes is a phrase that's been used, for a long time, and we'll see. And it's not just us; that's every team.
Omar?
So I want to ask you primarily about your rookie lineman, not necessarily Austin Jackson, but the decisions that you have to make with Robert Hunt or Solomon Kinley, who fills in on that right side of that line. What goes into your judgment? Is it where Jesse Davis best fits, or which rookie do you feel is further ahead and ready to start? Is it conditioning? I mean, what goes into the thought process on
Better
that
player
decision you have to make on the right side?
I mean, all those things, everything you mentioned goes into the decision. Conditioning, best fit, best overall. But I would say, the number one thing is the overall group. We're talking about 5 guys. We need to get on the same page from a communication standpoint. And I think, the 3 rookies, Austin, Robert Hunt, Solomon Kinley, I think they've all played well at times during training camps. They've all made mistakes as well. So, these are tough decisions that we have to make. And look, things change over the course of the season. So, like I was telling Josh earlier, we may feel a certain way now, put a group out there, and look, if a player freezes up, then we got to make an adjustment. I think we all know that. So, but I like where they're at. I think they're all working, look, we're still in a little bit of an evaluation phase here. Got to practice today. A couple of practices later in the week, so no official decisions have been made. And honestly, you guys probably won't know till opening day, so the exact what it is. So, but I like where they're all at.
Barry?
Hi, Brian. It's good to see you. I haven't been able to ask you any questions because of Zoom issues, so I'm going to make up for it with 2. Okay. First one was, are you open to using a Landon Roberts at fullback, or do you want him to focus solely on defense? And also curious how close the Tua Rosen competition is for the number 2 job.
So Roberts, obviously Landon's played fullback in the past. And look, he's someone who's willing to play wherever we ask him to play. But we got a lot of guys that way. So it's definitely a possibility, Barry. I would say that. But, it's not something that, we're going to make any definitive decision on right now. We still got 12 days. So that's where we're at, where they landed. As far as Tua Rosen, and might as well throw Fitzpatrick in there as well. That's still a lot of competition at that position. So, we're not saying somebody's 1, 2, 3. It's still a competition. And obviously Fitz has played well. They've all played well in spurts, and they've all made mistakes. And we just gotta, we still gotta keep it. Still got a few days here, but I think that we like where all 3 of them are, and we will continue to lead that as a competition moving forward.
That's the kind of question that you ask, and if you expected an answer, you're pretty naive. You know what I mean? He's not going to tell you how he's going to use a player at fullback or linebacker. Why is he going to tell New England how he plans to use Landon Roberts? And then the competition for the number 2 quarterback, why would he give Tua the upper hand at this point and then deflate Rosen, or vice versa? Why would he say, well, Rosen's got the nod right now. He's a little ahead of Tua. He would be the number 2 guy right now if we were playing tomorrow. Why would he do that? He's not going to do that. That's why he even threw in, the 1, the 2, or the 3. He wants Rosen thinking he's got a shot to start. He wants Tua thinking he's got a shot to start. When neither one are going to start. Okay? This is all fits all the way. And the other two guys, let me explain something that could happen this year. Rosen could be the number 2 guy. There's a good chance. Just because of the experience and maybe health-wise right now, they don't want to put Tua at number 2 because then they put him at risk. Maybe they're not ready to see him take hits on that hip, whatever it is. And there's also this thing that you could have the number 2 alternating all year long. It could be that they're 2A and 2B. It could be that Rosen's the 2 all the way through. It could be that that Tua's number 2 all the way through. But again, if you expected any kind of concrete answers from those 2 questions, pretty naive. Go ahead.
Good morning, Flo. You hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
I guess a little two-parter for me, too. I guess we're getting closer to cut-down day. So I wanted to ask, what's your comfort level on who you think your 53 is, I guess, at this point? Is, I guess, my first part. And the second part, I know you just mentioned the quarterbacks. Is there a day, I guess, going into week 1 you would like to know who my QB1 is, or at least tell us who your QB1 is?
So in the 53, I mean, look, we've got, a lot of competition on this team.
Wow, a lot of
various
competition.
Positions. So
who said that?
I mean, it's probably, let's call it 60 players vying that, we feel good about. To include and probably
15 other go on the practice squad. That's 75 out of 80
spots as well. With there being 16 practice squad spots this season. So there's a lot of. I think we got some talented players, some guys we can develop. So as far as forecasting, who the best players or who the guys we think can develop, that becomes a little bit of a longer conversation, to say the least, Cam. As far as who the 53 are, I kind of look at it as who the 69 are, to be honest with you. And we're going to have to release some of those guys and hope that we get them back. So on the practice squad. But yeah, I mean, I've got a pretty good, idea of who the, let's call it 69 players are. And the next question was QB1. When would we like to know? As soon as possible. When will you guys know? Probably as late as possible is, where I leave it.
It's not going to answer those questions.
That's a nice chair you got there, Cam.
Yeah. I was saying it while he was, right before he was answering, I pretty much gave the answer right there. He's not going to tell you who the 53 are. And when he tells you, 60-something, 69 or whatever, there's 80 players. So, again, he doesn't want to say, I know who my 53 are. They're already set. I think maybe we have 55 guys competing for the 53 spots. Let's just, for craps and giggles. Then he deflates everybody else. Because most of them will kind of figure out who they are. But if you leave it open like that, the back end of that roster still feels they have a shot. If they don't make the team, they make the practice squad. And because the practice squad's so big, again, it's a very general question that I don't think you're ever going to get a specific answer. Not from that dude. He's way too smart. Go ahead, Bill.
I like that, you got a little nice little blanket there too.
Good morning, Flo. Joe here. Will giving Tua more time and separation from his injury be a part of the discussion about who is active at the quarterback position? Or is that at this time no longer a factor? Is it not a part of this discussion or the equation?
I was just kind of focused on your pronunciation. It was good. I got the question. It's good. I'm just messing around, Joe. as far as answering that question, that is definitely part of the conversation for sure. I mean, I think, we're at 10 months. It was a pretty serious injury. He looks good though. I mean, you guys have seen him. He looks good. He looks healthy. He's moving around to his right, to his left. But yes, that's part of the conversation. Look, he's a great kid. I care about him. I want what's best for him. And that's definitely part of the conversation.
And it has to be part of the conversation. And I've been telling you from the get-go, haven't I? That's why I'm not in a hurry to see the kid. I want to see him late in the second half of the season, in November and December, when it's a year removed, when he's had time to get healthy, when what? The offensive line is in a groove. And that's pretty good honesty from Flo, because he kind of tells you that Rosen has an inside track at even being the number 2 guy. Because if the hip is still a concern 10 months in, and he mentions it, we're 10 months into the rehab, then they're well aware of that, which they should be. But the fact that he's even willing to mention it publicly is pretty big. Okay? That's kind of a decent declaration on Flo's part there. You would think he would say, well, right now we're not thinking that he looks great out there, and if we think he can play, he can play. And then that way you keep the opponent also off balance. You keep everybody off balance because you don't know what you're doing with the backup. But the fact that he's telling you that the hip has to be in some consideration and the rehab and all that, then that tells me that that's also going to go into the decision of, well, let's have Rosen as our number 2 guy and active, because if something happens to Fitz and we need to go to a quarterback and we have him active, let's have the guy with the healthy hip active. Okay? Let's do that. That's what I think is going to end up happening. Go ahead.
We got time for 2 more. We'll go to Alan.
Good morning, Brian. I wanted to ask you quickly about Julian Davenport. How would you assess his development over the past year?
He's made a lot of improvements. He's stronger. He made a lot of gains in the offseason. His technique, his footwork's, a lot better. He's made a lot of improvement. Obviously started with, some games last year. I've been very happy with him, and I've seen a lot of improvement. We would have no problem putting him in the game.
Final one, Omar.
I want to ask you a little bit about your comfort level with your receiver depth, especially considering the injuries that you've got and Preston's pre-existing injury. Where is that comfort level, and what have you seen from guys like Hollins, Ford, Roger? We all putting the 53 together in Saturday, so we need to sort of stack it up in what they bring to the table.
Okay. I feel guys like Ford, Hollins, Rogers. Obviously, you mentioned Devontae and Preston and Jakeem. I think they're all. I like the depth. They're all working. They all understand kind of their role in the offense. Malcolm Perry's part of that as well. They all have different and unique skill sets. So I like the depth, and I think their role in the kicking game will also play a role in that evaluation, whether it's Jakeem as a punt returner, Mac Hollins as a gunner, Malcolm Perry, in his roles as a punt returner, as a PP on punt. Isaiah Ford, who can move around and play multiple positions. So, I like the depth. It's a hard-working group. And, they all block. It's important to them. So I think I like the group.
All right, let me explain why that question pretty much is a waste of time. Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Isaiah Ford, Jakeem Grant, Malcolm Perry. Your receiving group is done. What depth? What are you worried about? What's that question for? The question is more about which guys make it to the practice squad. That's really what it's all about. You've got your 5. I'm not sure where Omar was going with that question. Your other guys after your 5 are the guys you're going to have to release and then bring back when they clear waivers and add them to the practice squad. You're not adding Chester Rogers to the practice squad, but maybe Matt Collins can still be on the practice squad. The Gary Jennings kid. You're not keeping 6 receivers. You're going to keep 5. Okay? Kirk Merritt, you drafted, or no, he's a street free agent, I think it is, or something like that. Whatever. He's part of the rookie class, drafted or undrafted. But my point is, that's a guy that could go to the practice squad. But the depth, it's set already. You have your 5 guys. And you count Perry as a receiver. You don't count him as a running back. What you do is you have Jordan Howard, you have Matt Breida, you have Myles Gaskin, and probably Patrick Laird. That'll be your 4 that you keep. And why? Gaskins and Laird can also catch passes along with Breida. Howard's not really a pass catcher, but you don't want him necessarily for that. So for me, that question for Omar, unless I'm missing something, and I'm not perfect, I could be, to me it was kind of a waste of time because the receivers are already set and you keep 5. You don't really keep 6. If you're keeping a 6th, then maybe we've got a conversation now. Hey, where's Matt Collins? Where's Matt Cole? Where's Kirk Merritt? Where's, whatever. Ricardo Lewis, you name it. But you got your 5 already. It's set. Albert Wilson and Alan Hearns made your job easy. Once those guys dropped out, the question was Malcolm Perry good enough to fit on the roster, or do we slide him in at running back because we were loaded at wide receiver? Now that you're not loaded at wide receiver, now you have your 5. You technically had 7 competing for 5, but 2 dropped out. The other guys, Chester Rogers and Matt Collins and Ricardo Lewis and Matt Cole and Andy Jones and Gary Jennings, those guys were periphery guys anyways.